Everything that's shared tonight is available for more people to listen to.
Your music is no. We can't hear it. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Mrs. Ojo. Thanks for joining. Thank you, Sunday. Thank you, Sister Stephania. Thank you, Adesoye. Thank you, Sister Talks. Thank you, Lola Day. Oh, Sister Idahosa, thank you for joining. Thank you, Funke Abiola. Thank you for joining. Oyin, thanks for joining. Idowu, thank you for joining. Thanks, everyone. We are starting in 1 minute. All right, I think we're ready. We have our special moderator tonight, Eria Jao. She's one of our youth, one of my daughters. She's going to start moderating the session. Thank you, Eri. Thanks for honoring us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Auntie, even for the opportunity to moderate tonight's event. So, I want to start off by welcoming everyone to our event for tonight. The topic for today is going to be domestic violence within the young adult demographic, and we're going to have a guest speaker as well. But before we go into that, if you're new here, I just want to give you a little bit of background on TouchLink. So, TouchLink is a nonprofit organization that exists to support survivors of domestic violence. They also provide social, legal, and financial services for those who may be in a difficult situation at the moment. But apart from that, just like we're all doing here tonight, we also advocate for domestic violence awareness as well as healthy and living situations. So, like our founder said, my name is Eri, and I'm going to be moderating tonight's event. So I'm not sure if we have a video before. Otherwise,
Yes, we do.
We do? Okay.
I work to support the victims and survivors of domestic violence. I work because I remember over 26 years ago, I was on that street of Newark with nowhere to go, with no one to call. I work to support victims and survivors of domestic violence. I work to save lives. I work because I want to be the light in the darkness, the hope for the hopeless. Yes, I want to be that dream. I work because I want to put an end to domestic violence. For the last 6 years, TouchLink has been supporting, empowering, and uplifting victims of domestic violence. So I'm calling everyone to join us at TouchLink to be the hope for the hopeless, to be the light in the darkness, to be the answer to that woman that is crying, to be the shoulder to wipe away their tears, to counsel. That's what TouchLink has been doing. Triaging the cases, counseling the victims and survivors and their children of domestic violence, giving them hope, helping them. This time around, I'm saying let's do it together. Together we can be the hope in the darkness. Together we can be the light around us. Together we can be that village of support. So I'm calling you, let's come together and help and put an end to this pandemic. Yes, domestic violence is a pandemic. Let's end it. Let's put that family together. Let's put that mother and child together. Let's help them. This is why we are working. We are working to put an end to this darkness. My name is Yewande Efodili. I'm the president and founder of TouchLink, a non-profit organization that supports, empower, and uplifts the victims and survivors of domestic violence. Thank you.
All right. So, if you weren't aware before, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and that's why we've been having these different Zoom events this month while we're meeting here tonight. Because of that and COVID, we can't do an in-person walk like we normally would, but we are having a virtual walk for domestic violence, and you can find out more about that on TouchLink's website, touchlink.org. If you visit the website, you can sign up on Eventbrite for your virtual walk, as well as create a fundraising page where you can raise funds to donate to TouchLink with you, your family members, and you can even create a team. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce to you all our speaker for tonight. Okay. Chinelo Shote is a wife and mother to three beautiful children. She is a certified adoption specialist and child advocate in the state of New Jersey. She holds a certification in violence against women from the Violence Against Women Program, New Jersey. She also holds a bachelor's degree in English from Rutgers, as well as a master's degree in child advocacy from Montclair State, New Jersey, from Montclair State University. She is the women's coordinator in her local place of worship and a quintessential woman of grace and excellence who is highly favored. So let's all give a virtual warm welcome to our speaker for tonight, Miss Chinelo Shote. You can do a thumbs up if you're on Zoom or an applause. And I'm going to turn it over to her.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. I am going to be.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you. So I'm going to be sharing my screen so we could get started. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today. And I'm not an expert, so we're all going to be having a discussion on this topic. So I'm going to really want to hear everyone's, thoughts on it. And we're talking about domestic violence in the young adult population. And like we all know, this whole month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, right? And domestic violence in the young adult population is also known as the teen dating abuse. So most of the time you hear me saying teen dating abuse, teen dating abuse. That's what it is, in that population. So allow me to introduce my tribe to you. I Can you see the next? I don't know if you can see the next slide for some reason. Okay, all right. So allow me to introduce my tribe to you. This is my family, my husband, and my two teenagers. So I'm dealing with all of this now with them, and my little princess who is 9 years old. Okay, and I just put the picture in the middle. It's just us being formal. The other ones, my little girl just had her birthday, so we just had that picture. So we don't always look that dapper in the middle. So that's why I have the other slide also. So we all know that what TouchLink is doing at this time is very, very important. So it's like, having a coordinated community response to this whole, like Deaconess, when they call it a pandemic, domestic violence. So having a coordinated community response at this time is just the best way for us to respond to what is going on. So addressing it, having a meeting like this is really the best way to handle this and to deal with this. And I just want to say thank you so much to TouchLink for creating this awareness and educating us, educating our community. So thank you for what you're doing. We really appreciate what you're doing. And as many of us are on the line today and has been on the line since the beginning of this month, I know that you've gotten a lot of information. So everywhere you go, you're spreading the word, you're helping to stop domestic violence. And just like October is the Domestic Violence Awareness Month, February is the Teen Dating Abuse Awareness Month. So every February, there's this whole awareness going on about teen dating abuse. And like we all know, knowledge is power. So let's just go right in. What is teen dating abuse? It's, teen dating abuse kind of describes an actual or threatening act of physical, sexual, psychological, and verbal harm by a partner, a boyfriend, or girlfriend, or someone wanting a romantic relationship. So it includes violence between two young people in a current or former relationship, and it can also include using the internet, social networking sites, cell phones, or text messaging to harass, pressure, or victimize. And I don't know how many of you on the line have teenagers like I do. It's all about their phone. It's all about the social networking sites. It's all about everything that I haven't even heard of. Snapchat, Instagram, all of that stuff. That's what it's all about. And domestic violence can happen through those channels with them. And it's all about power and control. So I just put up a wheel, like the wheel that represents like a snapshot of what a violent teen dating relationship looks like. And in the center, you see the power and the control center. It's all about power and control in a domestic violence relationship. In a teen dating abuse relationship, it's still all about power and control. And while this wheel doesn't cover every survivor's experience, it does portray the most common tactics that the teen abusers use against their dating partners. So you would notice, like I said, in the center is the power and the control. And this is the heart of the wheel because that's the reason why abusers choose to use violence and other tactics against their dating partners. They want to have control. They want to have the power over their partners. Okay. And we all know that teen dating violence is a public health crisis. Sometimes we're in our own little world, in our own little cocoon. We don't know what is happening somewhere else, but it is a public health crisis. Just like my sister said, domestic violence is a pandemic. It's all over the place. I was just going through some statistics and I found that 75% of seventh graders, that is children ages 13 to 14 years old, they've reported having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And I'm like, really? At that age, you know? Like at that age, what do you know? Can they even recognize the red flags when they see it, if they're being abused? Do they even know, how teen dating abuse looks like, And that's where we all come in. We're all coming at this point to help to educate, to teach them. It's not about love. It's not about, oh, he or she loves me so much, and oh, he or she is so jealous, and he or she is doing this to me. No. And at this age, they seem to know everything because they're coming into themselves. So they feel like nobody else knows anything apart from them. And also, just throwing our statistics out there, 1 in 3 teens experience some form of dating abuse. 1 in 3. And 81% of parents believe teen dating abuse is not an issue. I kind of counted myself among that because I was like, what do they know? And I saw that, oh my goodness, 81% of us actually, believe that this is not an issue. So, and only 33% of the teen tells someone about dating abuse. A lot of them are not saying anything, and that's very, very dangerous. So we're going to talk a little bit about how teens develop at this age. We're going to talk about, the stages of development among the teenagers, and this will help us understand what is actually going on with them. We have the early adolescent stage, we have the middle adolescent stage, we also have the late adolescent stage. And in the early adolescent stage usually occurs between ages 10 to 14, and nearly half of 11 to 14-year-olds have been in a dating relationship. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So during this developmental period, they experience the beginning stages of puberty. It's all about the hormones. The girls and the boys, the voices are deepening. The girls are experiencing the menstrual cycle. Both sexes are experiencing significant physical growth and increased sexual interest. And statistics also shows that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused by the age 18. So I was like, oh my goodness. And also at this stage, the abstract thinking is kind of developing, when they have like a limited capacity for abstract thought, which is they're learning how to make decisions. They're still like concrete thinkers. It's either black or it's white. But at this stage, they're beginning to learn how to make decisions, and they're thinking to themselves, okay, is this what I can do? Is this what I cannot do? So the other day, I believe on Saturday, I was driving my 9-year-old to dance. She has dance classes. And then she started a conversation about boyfriend and girlfriend. And I was looking at her like, what? What are you trying to say? You're only 9. And she was talking about, the boyfriend, girlfriend thing, the kissing. So I was like, oh my God. So I was like, okay, I really have to start explaining what boyfriend is and what girlfriend is. So we went into this whole talk of, you have friends that are boys and friends that are girls, boyfriend and, so this is something that we all have to go through. So this is really important that we start early. So I'm glad that we're having this discussion. We have the middle adolescent stage, ages 15 to 17. So puberty is completed already in this stage, okay? So this is where you start seeing like group formations. They start forming groups, and having like, this is my group, that's, this is their group. It's all about your friends, they are so loyal. Their friends is your whole world. All they do is around your friends. Emotional changes are happening. They're beginning to have the drive for independence at this stage. So I'm using my kids a lot as an example because they're in that stage, So I have one of my sons the other day was like, oh, I need to go to the mall and I need to buy a birthday gift for a friend of mine who's having a birthday. So I was like, okay. We got to the mall and he was about to spend $40. I'm like, $40? That's your whole allowance for the year. So it's like it's all about your friends. They want to drive, they want to hang out, they want to go on shopping spree, they want to do all those things. And statistics also shows that 1 in 5 teen girls ages 13 to 16 say that they have electronically sent or posted nude or semi-nude photos or videos of themselves. So this is actually happening out there. And also the last stage, which is the late adolescent stage from ages 18 to 24, they do at this stage, they develop the ability to act on their own values and interests. And this is where mentoring is really important, because they need positive role models, because it is sad to say that most of them may not even have positive role models in their life. So they're graduating from high school, they're going up to college. So at this stage, they're gaining their autonomy, they're becoming independent. So it's really nice to be able to guide them, at this stage. I do have a short video clip I'd like to play for us, really like a minute or so. And then we'll talk about the video clip when we're done. We're going to discuss and just, tell me what you see in the video and all of that stuff. And you could write it down if you're not able to go back and forth in terms of having a conversation, because I'm screen sharing, so I don't know if we can do that. But it is something that, will benefit from. So just give me a minute while I pull that on.
I guess I was lucky. High school was really great for me. I had my best friend Anna, who I've known since forever. We both made the lacrosse team, and we had a great group of friends. And then at homecoming, I met Matt.
So I think we have math class together.
Oh, really? Matt isn't anything like anyone I've ever known. He's funny, he listens to me, cares about me like none of my boyfriends ever have. Anna thinks that we spend too much time together, that I don't have time for her now. But I want to be with him. I want to be with him all the time.
Well, my last girlfriend left me because she said I was too possessive. But Megan, I'm totally into her. Oh wow, look at how pretty that is.
Wow, it's like pink.
Like, I know that Megan wanted to find someone, so I was really happy for her when she met Matthew, because he's really cool. He is. But it's just like they're in their own little world.
I just assumed.
Why do I feel like you're lying to me? And I don't even know why you hang out with that girl anyway. She's so annoying.
I don't know what to do. Like, he seems so out of control, and I'm scared. It's like I promise not to say anything, and I'm not going to. Like, I'm not gonna betray our friendship. But I'm scared it's gonna happen again. I'm scared he's gonna really hurt her.
But I don't want to break up with him. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I know we can work things out.
Okay, so are we going to be able to discuss this, even though I'm screen sharing? Is it possible to also, let's talk about what we, yeah, okay. So I welcome anyone. Just tell me what you see. What is going on there? Like, what are the warning signs? I could start. It's a typical life in high school. The friends, the sports, the guys, the fun, and all of that stuff going on. And then we see Megan meeting this guy. And then how do you see the relationship at first? Anyone?
Someone said
Someone wrote in the...
Yeah, someone said he was possessive and obsessive controlling.
Yes, yes. And then that progresses to what?
Someone else mentioned isolation.
Yes, yes. Isolation, and then it becomes out of control. If you watch the whole thing, I just put a little skit, but if you watch the whole thing, you could see that it progresses to him being out of control, and she doesn't know what to do anymore, and she's trying to break up with him. And then they had to teach her how to break up in a safe manner. And we also see that she wants to be independent, right? So the autonomy, she can make her own decision. She knows what to do. She knows what is working for her. And so that leads us to talking about, the warning signs. Like, what are the warning signs in a relationship? Like, our teens, they need to know, when you see this, then you know that this is what is happening. The teens may be experiencing a variety of physical and emotional changes during this time of their life, right? And as a result, they might not share everything that is happening in their life. So we have to do our own part by making sure that they understand what the warning signs are. Also, to be on the lookout if our child or your child is displaying any of these potential signs, like if they're spending less time with family and friends, so if they're worried or upset about the boyfriend or about the girlfriend. I can't go through the whole slide, but there's a lot of warning signs out there that we need to be on the lookout for and make sure that we understand what is going on. So what can we do? We have to focus on prevention and intervention. Given the warning signs, we really need to educate them on what healthy and unhealthy and abusive relationship looks like. And I was going through a website that stated that 70% of young men and 60% of young women are not having conversations about healthy relationships. The basic line is, if it doesn't feel right, then it's not right. So they need to maintain healthy relationship by setting boundaries, having healthy boundaries, having healthy communication, and having consent, having a healthy consent. And what does consent mean? It means respecting boundaries and never making assumptions and not consenting out of pressure. And then we could intervene by all the resources we have in order to teach them what those look like. Okay, so for example, healthy relationship versus unhealthy and abusive relationships. We'll talk about one. Respectful of boundaries and right to privacy. It's what healthy relationship looks like. When it starts being built on bloodlines and boundaries, that's unhealthy. And when it's devoid of boundaries, trust, and communication, that becomes abusive. So we really need to educate them on what all of this looks like. Okay, so, and what do we need to know? We really, really need to know and understand how young people interact in relationships. The words they use, a young person may say, oh, we just talking, or we just hanging out, we just friends, it's casual, it's not exclusive. All of those words, we need to understand what they mean, because even though they do describe different levels of an intimate relationship, dating violence can occur during any of those levels. So, oh, we just talking. Talking can signify the beginning stage of an intimate relationship, where the two people are spending time together, maybe mostly on text or on social media. At this time, they're just talking via social media. While their relationship may be informal, dating violence can still occur in this stage. So we really need to pay attention. We also need to create an environment for them to feel comfortable, and also to pay close attention to the warning signs and make an effort to start conversations about what healthy relationship looks like. So we need to start conversations as well as support them. Sometimes it's difficult to start conversations with them. If your kids are like my kids, they're always on the phone, they don't want to talk to you. In the car, they don't even want to look up, they're always like that, they're in their room, so starting a conversation might be very hard. But hey, you could just use open-ended conversation, open-ended questions with them. You could just call them one day and say, hey, do you know what a healthy relationship should look like? Okay, do you know what kind of communication strategies you can use to figure out whether you and your partner can resolve conflict in a healthy way? And then they're gonna go like, what? What do you mean by that? I don't understand. Then you can start there by talking to them and explaining to them, okay, so let me give you an example with my son again. So one day I went to pick him up from school, one of them, I went to pick him up from school, and he was coming out, and there was this girl that was sitting down on a bench, and around the area where he was coming out from. So I was just looking at him. He walked up to the girl. I don't know what he said with the girl. And then the next thing, he gave the girl a hug. I was like, okay. So he came into the car, and I was like, why were you giving the girl a hug? He's like, oh, mom, she's going through some things, and I just wanted to let her know that I'm there for her. So I said, did you ask her if it was okay to give her a hug before you did? He's like, no. So I was like, you can't just do that. So that kind of started a conversation. You have to ask. They have to give you consent for you to do whatever you like to do from a clean heart. But anyway, we have to support them. We have to validate their feelings. We have to remind them that it's not their fault if they're going through dating abuse. We have to remind them that, it's our responsibility to keep them safe and for them to also feel safe. And we can also ask them, how can we support you, depending on what they're going through. And I really thank God for TouchLink for what they're doing. And, we can find resources from them. We can also, get all the resources we need, provide resources to them. And I do have a couple of resource links here. One is TouchLink, another one is Break the Circle, Love is Respect. These are all the places where you can find resources to be able to talk to your teen and help them and have conversations and print them out, and do all those things just to help them. And so we know that there's a quote that I love to, when I read the quote, I was really, very, very taken aback. It says it's not always easy to tell at the beginning of a relationship if it will become abusive. So they could start off like very happy. They could start off like, easygoing, but then it could progress to something else. And if they don't understand what a healthy relationship should look like, if they don't understand what a healthy communication should look like, if they don't know what healthy boundaries should look like, if they don't understand what it means to give consent, all of that, if they don't know what it is, it'd be so easy for them to be involved, in like a dating abuse relationship and not know how to get out of it. So this is just a short presentation that I have, and then we're going to give it over to, let's talk more about it. If there's any questions anyone may have, if there's anything, we would like to discuss more of, it is time for us now to, talk about it, and we can all contribute our own quarter, to this whole pandemic, like my sister said. So thank you so much. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so we could talk.
Thank you
Great.
so much for that
Welcome.
presentation. So we're going to go right ahead into the Q&A. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the chat. So the first question is, what age should parents start talking to their kids about relationships of the opposite sex and even talking to their kids about sex?
Okay, so I guess all of us will have to contribute to this. Like I said, at age 9, my daughter started asking me about boyfriend and girlfriend. Like she was like, so boyfriend and girlfriend, they kiss. I'm like, huh? What do you know about kissing? So that kind of prompted me to start talking about, kissing and boyfriends and girlfriends. The kids develop at different stages. Mine started asking me at 9. Yours might maybe start asking you at 10. So whenever and they all mature at different levels. So if you feel like your child at 9 is curious about kissing, dating, boyfriend, girlfriend, well, I think it's time for you to start talking to him or her about those things. And make it child friendly. When I was talking with my child, I didn't go into like sex. They don't know what sex is, but I was like, okay, I used some child friendly words with her, trying to explain to her about okay, there's something, and I'm a Christian too, so I use the Bible and I use Christianity in explaining to them. Some of us might not be, we could just go right out to say it, but I was like, God doesn't like it. So that's how I kind of start with mine. But it all depends on your child maturity level. And I'm welcome. Anyone can contribute also to, when they've
Thank
done
you
it.
so much, my sister.
Yeah.
Powerful, powerful leading. Thank you for that session. We've all benefited from it. But one thing I do learn very early, I mean, from some of these, I don't know specifically which book I read or who told me, but what I learned was that the earlier the better, that it's always good to have this communication earlier in life
Yeah.
because there's a statistics out there that says by age 7, kids already know what they need to know. So that makes you scared, right? You'll be
Yes.
shocked. You'll be shocked that by age 7,
Yeah.
they know a whole lot of things more
So
than what you think they know. A lot of times, we parents, we shelter our kids. We always
mhm.
think, oh, they are small, they are little, they are just babies, but they do know a lot. So the earlier, the better. And it's always good to be honest and true. I mean, it's always because if you don't tell them the truth, they will hear it
Nobody.
outside or from somewhere and they will act upon it. So it's always good to to speak out and to say it as early as possible. And the way you also have that conversation is very important. You make it clean, and again, you tell them the truth, and then you can now give them our family perspective based on our faith.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody have anything else to say to that. It's an open forum, guys. Let's talk about this.
Let's talk about it. Some of us are parents, so I need to learn too.
There were two similar questions that you kind of started to go into, asking how a parent could create an atmosphere in the home to encourage their children to speak about those kind of personal issues, and like how should you go about talking to this subject with your kids?
Like I said, also you use open-ended questions. It's hard to just walk up to them and just start asking them, well, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girl? They're all gonna say no to you. Mom, my kids will be so embarrassed. Like, mom, why are you asking that? So it's just using open-ended questions. And like I said, hey, do you know what this looks like? And I already told my kids, do you know what a healthy relationship looks like? They're like, huh? So, and I'm like, okay, so this is what it is. This is what I'm trying to find out from you. Do you know what it means, when you're in a relationship with someone? First of all, they go like, relationship? I'm not in no relationship. I'm like, listen, what does it mean of relationship? So we have to even start from relationship from what you're already thinking of is not what I'm saying, okay? Because it seems to run ahead of you. And then, I just use those open-ended questions just to get them talking. And I'll tell them, I'm not talking about you. I'm just, I just want to know. Just like one day I came home and I asked my son, I said, how do you identify? They're like, Ma. I'm like, yeah, how do you identify? Are you a he? Do you identify as a he, him, he, she, her? And like, Ma, I'm a he. I'm a he. So sometimes, that's how you approach it. There's a lot of resources out there. I just wanted to know where their mind is, because what is going on today in schools everywhere, I need to know, are they gender fluid? Are you gender specific? All of those things. So I kind of ask those questions and be open about it, to have an open discussion. Don't come judgmental. Don't come like you're trying to, find out from them, because they all have secrets at this stage. So you're just like, I'm here to teach you. I just want to know, what's going on with you. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to support you. Do you have any questions about this? This is what it should look like. This is what, this should look like. So that's how I think we should go about that. It's not like, come on, sit down, let's talk, or let's have a family talk. No, I don't know about you. You guys, it might work for some people. Family time, let's talk, but it doesn't work for me. Let's talk, because once you call them, let's have a family time, they kind of shut down, like they're already expecting a lot of things to come. So they kind of like, and I know when they were growing up, I use family time as a way of discipline. If I tell my child we're going to have a family talk, he starts screaming, Mommy, just do something else. Do something else. I don't want to talk. Because the talk will go from your generation, from where your parents were from, to how they got to this country and how you should behave. So they don't want to hear that. One of them don't want to hear that. They'll rather you punish them. So it just figure out the atmosphere in your home, and how, your kids, how they can respond. You know them very well. So you're able to, plan something and put in words. You're driving in the car, you try to, talk about things in the car when they're listening, like, put your phones down, let's talk, something like that. So I don't know who else has like another suggestion.
I love what you said. And I think that, just piggybacking off of what you said, it's imperative that you have that kind of relationship with your kids from the beginning. If you don't have a relationship where you can just talk to your kids at any point, or where your kids feel like they can talk to you at any point, they're not going to talk to you. So when, they're going to shut down whenever you try to ask a question. It's going to be harder for you to engage in those types of dialogues. But if from the beginning, you're already having talks with your kids, you're laughing with them, joking around with them, they feel safe, they feel comfortable to even talk to you about certain topics. Then later on down the lines, when it comes time to have these tough questions, it won't be as hard. But if you don't have that relationship, it's a dud. Like it's not going to happen.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you so very much for this is such an interesting topic. So what I do, I have a 14-year-old. My 9-year-old actually I've not started having some conversations with him, but as much as possible, when my 14-year-old, anytime I want to talk to him, he kind of like tries to he shuts down. Now, naturally, I'm like I like to say I'm the cool one in the family. I make everyone laugh. So one of the things I do is sometimes I'll just start talking about like when I was his age, when I was in college or like in secondary school, now called high school. And I'll say something and the boy will just stop and look at me like, "Mommy, for real?" And I'm like, "Yes, for real." And then I'll now be like, "Have you seen something like that before? Have you experienced something like that before?" So with the tight lip, he might just let one or two things slip. So I just go ahead and share my mind, whatever I wanted to share at that time. So that's kind of like how I'm approaching things. But, a lot of times I still feel like there's a lot that's been hidden from me. But I, I just pray that God, I hope I'm okay because my husband doesn't want to have that kind of conversation. He's from a Christian home. You should be born again and sanctified, tongue speaking, demons, nothing like that. So,
And yes, thank you so much for that too. And one thing we have to do, we really have to understand the obstacles they face at this time. That's why I kind of went through the stages of development. At different stages in their life, they do face obstacles. At this age, they're probably, facing the obstacle of, the fear or the embarrassment, or they don't have a relationship experience, so they don't really know what they're doing. They don't know if they should disclose to an adult, so all of that also, they don't trust their feelings, so, and they don't know how you're going to react too. So all of those are like obstacles, and that's why you see them not talking or not saying anything to you. And I don't know if this is just me. I know while growing up, my aunties and my uncles would have me talk to some of my cousins. Like, they're like, "Chinelo, talk to this your cousin, talk to them about relationship, about sex, about all those things that they're not supposed to be doing." I remember a time I spoke to one of my cousins and I told her about, you're not supposed to have sex and all those things. And then it turned out that my cousin really didn't listen to me. She went ahead, she went to school, and she got involved in so many things, and she ended up dying of AIDS. So for my uncles and my aunties to see that I'm very vocal when it comes to that, like, they need to hear from someone else their age, um, talking to them about things like this. And I'm thinking back now, I'm like, why didn't you talk to them about, why are you asking me to talk? That kind of explains why parents sometimes are not comfortable having those conversations. So it's something that we really have to start working on. You have to, or else somebody else is going to have that conversation with them, and it might not be pretty.
Yeah, definitely true. So there are a few questions, and I think they kind of circle around this one big question. And I know everyone probably has a different opinion on it, like different parents, different spiritual leaders, different counselors. But since you're a guest speaker, what do you think is the right age for kids to start pursuing a relationship? Because even at the age that you're talking about with your kids, they probably don't really understand what a relationship is. So what would you say to that?
The right age to start pursuing relationships. They've been in relationships all their life from kindergarten, you know, when they, it's called the social formations, when they're mixing and they have friends, it helps them in developing socially. That's part of their development. So, and they're going to have relationships all through their lives. So now when you narrow it down to what is the right age to start having a boyfriend or a girlfriend and start doing all those things. Um, Listen, when they're mature enough, sometimes I tell myself, like I tell my kids, I say, you know, um, kissing is not, okay, let me say it this way. When I was growing up, my parents' generation, my parents would tell me, You're not supposed to kiss. You can get disease, the mouth disease, that disease, this disease. If you kiss a guy, so so I used to be very scared of kissing. That if someone, no, 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 disease. That's all I see. But over here, I learned that kissing might be a way of saying hi. I see some cultures like "Mwah," on the lips. I'm like, you're not supposed to do that. But having a relationship like a boyfriend girlfriend relationship, I see a lot of that start in the middle adolescent stage, like from age 15. But the statistics we see shows that from 10 to 10, 11-year olds have stated that they've had boyfriend and girlfriend. So it's starting earlier than we are envisioning. So I've also seen a 9-year-old have her period. So it's like, okay, there is no set age to start having the boyfriend girlfriend relationship. It's more or less like when they start having the affiliation and they start having the feeling, because they also have the sexual interest and sexual feeling. So you have to start telling them whatever you're feeling is just you developing. It's not, you're not supposed to act on it. Okay, it's just way of your body developing and telling you this is what is coming in the future. So I would say maybe when they're matured enough to understand what it means to have a healthy relationship, then I could say fine, they can, have a relationship at that time. I have I have a 15-year-old, and he's like, I need to hang out. I'm like, hang out with who? A friend. I'm like, what friend? A friend. I'm like, boy, girl, ma, a girl. Which of the girls? It's also so I kind of go like that, like a girl. Do I know her? No, ma. Right? Do I know her family? I don't think so. Well, I need to know her. Mom, you're gonna embarrass me. No, I need to know. So that's how we go back and forth. So I kind of see that he's getting to that point at 15. He wants to hang out with girls. He wants to go to the movies. He would ask me, can you drop me off at the movies? I'm like, with who? Who's coming? Who's going to be there? Whose parents are going to be there? So I see at that age, he's having the interest to hang out with his friends. And some of his friends are also girls. So that's when I'm like, you know what? I hope you don't sit down together with a girl. You make sure there's, he's like, Ma, who said we're doing all this? I'm like, I'm just saying, I just want to make sure. So I can't just say there's an exact age. Just start early, like my sister said, to talk to them about that. And when you see them having some kind of interest towards the other gender, make sure you equip them on what to do and how to do it. That's just my take. I'm not an expert. That's just like my little take.
Let me say something to that. That's a very hot topic.
Yeah.
And I think it all depends on the family value and faith. And I think more than any, sometimes kids they don't even want to hear that, but it needs to be something that needs to be foundational, our family value and our faith. Okay, so now when it comes to what I ask people, what I tell kids to do is define the relationship. You know, you go into a relationship with the intention of marriage. So are you trying to do that as 11-year-old? Are you able to take care of a wife or a husband or take care of a family, a baby? Because if there's no intention to marry, then that relationship should be scrapped. A lot of times people, children, especially children of faith, they always, especially when they mix up with outside, even when they go out of home, they do a whole lot of things because they are
Oh yeah.
exposed to a lot of things that are not home value or family value. But again, that's where that relationship is very important. I can't say categorically that I have it too. Because I was always like, I don't want to talk about it. I was always very scared of talking to my children when they were little. I don't want to talk about. So, but now, in hindsight, I know better. There's something I'm like, oh, you should have been talking like 2 year old, 3 year, really ringing it. So I will really help other people to say the best thing to do, make sure that you applaud your family value and you let it sink right from the get-go and live by example. You can't tell our children. My daughter always tell me that they are true copycats. They are good copycats because it's involves every other things that you do. If you say something but you are doing the opposite, you can't tell them, even when it comes to relationship, you can't tell, it won't stick because they know that you are a chameleon, that you are not consistent. So I think setting that pattern of your core values and of your belief and your faith, and you are actually working on it, that's a role model for them. And they are able to know that, look, this is important. And again, they are thinking, especially when you start having the conversation when they are young, and you are telling them, like, relationship is about, again, if it has to lead to marriage. So if I'm not ready for marriage, hey, you can have friends, and it's friends. But when you are going into relationship, courtship, or when it becomes physical or touching and all that, that can prompt our flesh is very weak. So it's always good to have this communication with kids when they're little about the flesh, about the body, about our organs, our feelings towards other people, especially of opposite sex. It's always very important. That's why
Yeah.
it's good to talk to them when they were small.
Yeah, and let me speak a little bit to the value, having the family values, right? It's really, really important. This doesn't really portray on like dating abuse or anything, but I know I had a conversation with my son. He came up and he asked me. He said, what was the one thing you did when you left home? When you went to college, you left home and went to college that you were not allowed to do when you were home. So I was like, okay. So I started thinking, I'm like, okay, when I was home, I was not allowed to wear pants because we were like girls, we need to wear skirts and dresses. So we're not allowed to wear pants. So once I left home, but I said, but I was in college. I left home and I wore pants. So he started laughing. He's like, do you know what I'm going to do when I leave home that I'm not allowed to do? And I'm like, yes, I know. He's like, what? I'm like, number one, you're going to braid your hair because he's asking to braid his hair. And I'm like, it's not part of our family value to braid hair. Men will not braid hair. The Lord, I just used the Bible to explain all that. He's going to put tattoos on his body because we've showed him, like, you cannot do tattoos. You should not put, this is your temple. Da, da, da. I said, you're going to put tattoo. You're going to braid your hair. You're going to pierce your body. And because these are all the things we've been talking about, you're not supposed to do because our family value does not support that and using the Bible too as Christians. So I said, I know you're going to do all those things. He's like, bah. So I was like, hey, at least I taught you the values, So when you go against them, you know what you're doing at that time. And also it's good to teach them about loving themselves and about respecting themselves and respecting one another and also loving themselves and what love is not, what respect is not. So that's
Mhm,
really, really important
mhm,
also.
mhm, mhm. Somebody said we outgrow their desires, and I always believe that.
Yeah.
Especially if you start very early and you talk about all these things, because
Yes.
you had already spoken about it. They know
Yeah.
they know the boundaries.
Mhm.
Even though they are really excited, they just can't wait. I remember my kids always say, oh, they want to travel away, they want to go to California, they want to go so far away. After a year in school and of us traveling back and forth, they got tired of it. They just want to come back home. So
Yeah.
it's always like that.
Yeah.
All right, I think they have question. One said she's still going to California.
Okay, so I'm gonna go a little bit backwards to a question from earlier. Irene said that she has a son who's 11 and he's always talking about a girlfriend, and she normally repeats it to him after some time, but she wonders um, I how she can stop it. He even tells his younger brother that so and so is your girlfriend, and the brother comes to report it to her, and he doesn't want. I guess he doesn't want to talk about it. So, what is your advice to that, or should we
um,
clarify the question a little bit?
well, like I said, it's time to have the talk with the 11-year-old. It's time to sit the 11-year-old down and kind of figure out what's really going on in his mind or her mind. You know, they watch a lot of things on TV, social media, YouTube, all of those things, and that might be forming in his or her mind. So this is what I'll do. I'm not an expert, but this is what I'll do. I'll sit the child down and I'll ask more questions. So tell me about this boyfriend girlfriend thing that you're always talking about. What is it what is it like in your mind? What do you think boyfriend girlfriend is all about? What do they do? Like, find out exactly what is going on in his mind or her mind, exactly about having a boyfriend or girlfriend. um they might have seen it somewhere where they want to be able to hold hands or kiss or do all those things. You really have to figure out what is going on in his mind and what he's thinking about in regards to boyfriend, girlfriend. Maybe he's seen something. So you need to correct whatever he's seeing. You need to put him right. You need to tell him the right thing. And you need to set him straight so that he could understand exactly what boyfriend, girlfriend is all about. So this, I have a little example. And this is my 9-year-old. We went to, one of the concerts that they do in school. So you know how they all sit up on stage. And she was like 8 last year. She was 8, yes. And they sit up, and she was sitting close to this boy, right, on stage. And all the parents are taking pictures and everything. And I see her talking to this boy in his ears, holding his hand. I'm like, huh? What is she doing up there like that? I was like, okay. So to me, I don't know if I'm like hyper vigilant because of what I know. I don't know, but I started having those warning red signs going off in my head. So after the concert, I said, Zizi, listen. I saw the way you were talking to the boy in his ears, and I know you're playing, but that doesn't look right. You're not supposed to be touching Billy, touching it, and talking in his ears and touching him and doing all those things. And she's like, I'm sorry, mommy. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't look right. Okay. So you have to respect yourself. Respect to her at 8 means you have to keep your hands to yourself. Okay. That's what respect means to her at that age. Keep your hands to yourself. Don't throw hands and all of that stuff. Don't be touchy to somebody else. You're a girl. Keep your legs crossed and closed when you sit up the stage. So those are those things that I'm talking to her at that time. So your 11-year-old, you should be able to sit him down and find out exactly what he means by boyfriend, girlfriend. And if he's telling you things about, yeah, I love her, she's so cute, I have a crush. Like, what is the meaning of crush? Let's start from there. What do you understand by crush? What is going on in your mind about crush? So that you just have to have a conversation. You really have to have a conversation. You find out the root of the matter. What are they thinking? Some of them will say, I have a crush on her. She's so pretty. I love her. What do you understand by love? So that's what I can say.
Yeah, can I just add to that? I mean, I
Yeah.
think you really knocked the nail on the head, but I just want to add that you cannot be aggressive about it when you're having this conversation. You cannot, you cannot show power and control. That's not going to work. You can't yell, you can't scream them out. At 11-year-old, you can't do that because you will lose them. You will lose them. They won't confide in you. They will run outside and they will go and do terrible things. So at that stage, it's always good. You should have had that conversation earlier on. But if you have never had it, you need to calm yourself down before you talk. It's not a time you start yelling, start throwing tantrums, start getting anxious, because that will make them to shut down. They will shut down, they won't have that conversation, and you will lose them.
Yeah, definitely. And even like I'm obviously not a parent, but even from the other side, like there is a stereotype, and I think it's true to an extent that it's the kids and teenagers that usually have the quote unquote stricter parents that end up being the sneakier kids. So I'm glad that you both mentioned that. So we're gonna switch a little bit to I guess the main topic for tonight, even though we're a little getting close to the time, but we're going to talk about unhealthy relationships a little bit. So someone asked, how do you help a child who was exposed to abuse at a young age not end up in a domestic violence situation when they get older? And someone earlier had asked, how do you advise or convince a child to leave an unhealthy relationship?
Um, like we all know from the beginning of this month, just from this education and the awareness that we've been having through TouchLink, that domestic violence not only affects the victim, but it affects everyone in the family. And from what I do, we've seen a lot of kids who are being affected by domestic violence in their home. So, and there are a lot of resources out there that can help them, and talk them through it, and and help them deal with their emotions and help them deal with what they've seen and put them on the right path. So I would say, for those kids that have been exposed to domestic violence, because there are statistics out there that actually does say that most of those kids end up either, abusing their partners, or they end up in other, what's it called, in other kind of, ill or illegal behavior, like, sexual abuse, no, like, what's it called, substance use, and all of that other stuff, that happens to them due to what they went through, as a child, witnessing domestic violence in the home. So it's something that, we need to really, really provide help for them, seek therapy for them, depend on their age. They do have like play therapy for the little young ones. They have like, individual therapy for the older ones. They really have to talk to someone, they have to process it. And there are also other resources out there, the mentoring groups. You have to provide like a mentor for them with positive role models. There's a lot of things that we can do for those children to help them. I know we can't save all of them, but at least we can get on the right path and making sure that, they know what, they know the right thing, and they know the good side of things apart from what they've seen growing up. That's what I can say about that. I kind of missed your second
Second
question.
part was kids and teenagers who do end up in unhealthy relationships. How would you navigate them out of that relationship?
Okay, so they do have a lot, like they also have lots of resources how to break up safely, because some of them have difficulty breaking up, just like the little video clip we saw. The girl is like, I love him and I don't want to break up with him. So that's where education comes in. That's where you're telling the person that what you're saying is not healthy. This is what healthy looks like. And from what I'm observing from your relationship, or what people are telling me, or what you are telling me, it doesn't look healthy. The relationship should be fun. If it's not fun, then there's an issue. It should be fun, it should be relaxing, it should be comfortable. But when it's all, pressure, when it's, aggression, when it's, all of those things, it takes away the fun from it. Nobody should be in a relationship and be bound and be sad and be angry. That's not what relationship is all about. If you don't feel right about whatever is going on, then it's not right. So trust your instincts. And it should not be something that is very sad or, degrading. It should be fun. It should be sexy. It should be light. It should be comfortable. So when you have someone going through that and you're trying to navigate the person out of it, bring out your resources, your toolkit. What does teen dating abuse look like? This is the power and control wheel. This is a checklist on what healthy relationships should look like. And this is how you can break up safely. This is what you can do. This, all of that. You should be able to educate them and show them, because sometimes they don't know. Some of them, you know, probably grew up in a home that is not modeling that for them, and some of them are just like trapped in that relationship for one reason or the other. So that's where we come in. That's where, if you see something like that, say something, educate them, show them. It's not, this is not what it is. This is what it is. Just like what I showed, little thing, the little slide that I also had, like healthy relationships should be open to lots of fun and laughter, you know. It shouldn't be marked with jealousy. It shouldn't be, confusion and loss and disrespectful, environment. It should be marked by control. You should be able to trust, be able to communicate. You should be able to, it shouldn't be in fear. So I hope when you show them all of that and you talk to them about that, and gradually, you can just sometimes you can just pour all of that on them. It's just gradually and gradually, depending on what stage they are in, because I don't know if you all know about the different stages of change. They go through this whole stage of change. They're probably in the contemplation level. They're contemplating, or they want to move. So depending on where they are in that relationship, all you have to do is just support them, be there for them, educate them, tell them what they need, and then just watch them gradually probably make a decision to leave that relationship. And that's what we can do. We can force them to leave, which is what we also see in the adult population. The person leaves when they're ready to leave. So it should also apply to the young people as well. So I don't know if I answered that.
Someone else asked a question about parents who have misunderstanding and arguments once in a while. How do you avoid exposing your kids to a toxic environment?
Why am I the only one answering all the questions? Hey.
That one is actually very easy.
Yeah, it's very easy.
Get them out of toxic environment. If it's toxic, then get them out.
And also, it's, we can't be shielding. Like my husband is like, they need to see us argue. We can't be hiding to argue sometimes. They need to see that parents do argue. When we argue, we also come back. They need to also see that part. You can't just, hush, hush. You need to argue. You go into the closet to go argue so your kids don't hear, But when it becomes toxic, like my sister just said, no, you have to get them out of that. But just the mere arguments, they need to see that. They need to see how that looks like, and then they need
that's a healthy argument. It's a healthy argument.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an argument that leads to physical.
Yeah.
It's you disagree to agree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even there are times we don't even agree, and they see that. That is okay. But when it becomes toxic, when it becomes physical, when it becomes name calling,
yes,
calling each other names before the kids, that's unhealthy.
And I just wanted to say one or two things. Sometimes because we're dealing with teen dating abuse, and we're focusing more on prevention, but you also have to know how to intervene, right? It's good to prevent so it doesn't get to that, but you also have to learn how to intervene when you're seeing that. So somebody was just telling me something about stalking, like in the relationship, and this guy is stalking the girl. When you talk about stalking, your mind, like the older generation online, when you talk about stalking, your mind will quickly go to those movies that I probably watch. The guy is in the bushes, doing like that and peeping through the bushes and monitoring the person. Nowadays it's different for the teens. They stalk them through social media. Okay, they stalk them through texting, through technology, digital abuse. And someone was just telling me about the ex abuser posting images on social media about weapons like guns, and then tagging his ex-partner. So what is that saying? That's like saying, listen, that's stalking. If you're posting pictures of a gun and you're tagging your ex on it, you're sending a message across. So there's a lot of things going on, when you have that kind of scenario in terms of abuse actually going on in a relationship that involve teens. So we should also be able to know how to intervene, check their phones once in a while, or if they come to us asking us this is what is going on, be able to know what to tell them as well. I just want to put that in there, because I think we're spending more time talking about how to prevent. But when it's some of the, for example, like in a church, some teenagers in churches are going through abuse, but they're not saying anything, So sometimes it's like us having our eyes open to notice those red flags, make sure that, we're seeing them. And not only about abuse, it's another example that I have, just, in what I do. So sometimes when I go to an event or to a church meeting, and I'm looking at the kids in church sometimes, and I'm, just, I don't know, but this is me. And I'm just like, how old is she? How old is he? He's 12 months, he's 1 year. Is he working? No, why not? So I'm, that's just things going on in my head when I see kids. Why is he or she not working at 1? What's going on? Is he talking? No, he's not. So I'm like, on my toes about developmental stages about kids. That's the same way we all should be too when we see teenagers. You're 16, you're driving, you have a girlfriend, you have a boyfriend, because that's going on in your head all the time. So when you see kids, when you see teenagers, you should be able to ask questions like, because you're just trying to make sure that they're on the right path. Just wanted to put that in before we close. I know we're out of time, but it's something that we can also start doing as well, as parents and as adults.
A disclaimer, we are not saying dating at 16 is okay, guys?
No.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone so much for joining us tonight. Sorry that we went over your time a little bit,
Yeah.
but I think it was worth it. Everyone had a lot
Yes. Thank
asking
you.
you. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for participating. A special thank you to our guest speaker for her presentation and even answering all your questions. And I just want to remind you all, if you want to get involved in our virtual walk, you can go to touchlink.org, sign up on Eventbrite, create a team, create a fundraising page, and try to make it as fun as possible as if, we were in person. If you want to donate to TouchLink directly, you can do that on touchlink.org and click the button that says I want to give or donate. And if you feel like, this was a great session and you want to share it to another parent or someone who you think should have been a part of this, you can subscribe to TouchLink on YouTube so that you can see the rest of the videos. And lastly, I want to encourage you all to join us on our closeout rally, which is going to be on October 31st. We're going to have 3 great guest speakers, including the mayor of Woodbridge. So I want to encourage you all to be there. And once again, thank you everyone so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much for our speaker, Sister Chinelo. God bless you. We were really blessed. Thank you everyone for joining. Please join us on Thursday for relationship talk and on Saturday for our grand finale. I want to beg you all, please support us. I need your money to help the victims and survivors out there. So donate. There's no change that is too small. Please support us. Go to our website, touchlink.org. But again, thank you everybody.